Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to part 2 of this Minecraft server development series. Today we're going to be going over permissions as well as chat and kits. For the kits we're just going to be using essentials, so you don't have to worry about any external plugins or anything like that. So to get started, we're first going to open up the PermissionsEX folder from the plugin we installed in the last video. And we're going to be opening up the permissions.yml. Alright, so as you can see, there is a default group already set up, and this just kind of lays out the basics of how your file should look. We're going to be adding an owner, mod, king, knight, and peasant rank, peasant being the default rank. So I'm going to quickly type that out and I'll see you in a second. Alright, so now your document should look something like this, depending on whatever ranks you are going to be choosing to use. We'll probably end up adding to this in the future, but I'll probably do that off camera. As well as a lot of the permissions I'm going to be adding are going to be off camera throughout the process of developing a server, although I will go through some of the essential permissions with you. But before we get into that, I just want to point out that peasant is set as true for default, whereas I just removed that from every other rank. So you just need that in the rank you would like players to start with. Alright, so this is a great website to find out what all the permissions for essentials are. So here you could see like the exp permission, exp.set others, and it gives kind of an explanation of what each permission does. And since essentials is basically the largest plugin we've added so far, this would definitely be a helpful page, so I'll leave it in the description for you guys to run through. I'm going to quickly add a bunch that I feel are just kind of basic ones, and I'll cut back to the video in a second. Alright, so I just finished adding all these permissions. I'm going to go through each one quickly. This is just permissions from the Essentials plugin, and they're just generally in the ranks that I feel they should be. So essentials.balance basically allows the player to check their money. Balance others allows them to check another person's money. Balance top allows them to see who has the most money on the server. And it'll provide a list of every single player, so you can search through that. And essentials pay just allows you to pay a player. Ignore allows you to ignore messages and private messages, things like that. List allows you to see all of the players that are on the server right now. And mail allows you to check if somebody has sent you mail. Obviously mail.send allows you to send it. And as I mentioned in the last video, we were not able to see the message of the day when I joined as the default rank rather than an op. And that's because I didn't have this permission here, which is essentials.motd, which is message of the day. And then we have essentials.msg, which stands for message. It just allows you to message other players. Essentials.realname basically allows you to see a player's real username if they have a nickname or something over top of it. Essentials recipe just allows you to use the command /recipe, which if you put a item after that word, so if you do like recipe ladder, it'll pop up a little box that shows you how to make a ladder and things like that. Essentials rules will just go through a list of rules in the chat, which you can set up yourself. Essentials.scene just allows you to use the command /scene, which tells you when a player was last online. Of course, we have delete home, home, and also set home multiple. I've added set home multiple to each rank, and I've added .peasant, .knight, .king, whatever the rank is at the end. And we haven't set this up yet, but we're going to be going into the essentials config after this and setting up how many each rank can set, so like how many maximum homes the player can have. We also have TPA, TPA accept, TP deny. This basically just allows the player to send a teleport request, accept that request, or deny that request. Then we also allow them to use warps and the warp list to see what warps are available. So all of these are just the default rank peasant in this case. So if you do have a default rank, I strongly recommend adding these permissions to it. On to the next rank, we have knight, and we start with essentials feed, which just allows you to feed your player when they're hungry. We're probably going to apply cooldowns to commands like this and some other, which I'll mention in a bit. We also have essentials.hat, which just takes the block from your hand and will place it on your head as if it's a helmet. Essentials workbench just allows you to open up a crafting table wherever you are. Essentials AFK allows you to use the command AFK just to notify in chat so other players know that you're AFK. And we also are adding the Essentials AFK kick exempt, which we're also going to be going back into the Essentials config in a moment and adjusting it so that it kicks players after a certain period. We left that as -1, which means that it will not function as of right now. So we'll go back and change that just so peasants won't flood the server, you know, and we'll give donors a bit more of a chance to access the server if maybe the queues are full. Additionally, we have essentials message.color and message.url, which basically allows the user to message in color or to successfully send a URL which will actually be clickable in game and open up websites. Now you're gonna have to watch this, because if donators start to spam malicious sites to other users, you're gonna have to mute, kick, ban, whatever it takes to get them to stop, maybe revoke that specific permission from them. So it's not always the best idea to have this permission, and I only recommend using it with caution. Essentials.nick is the next permission, and that just allows you to set a nickname for your character. So in the case where my username is NateKurt3030, I could use /nick and just put Nate, and my name would appear as Nate in chat. And we also are using nick.color, which allows you to, using the color codes I left in the description of the last video, and I'll include them in this one as well, just adjust the color of your name. Essentials.back allows you to use /back if you've died, or if you have maybe teleported to a different home. Instead of typing out /home, maybe you have a long name for that home, you could just type /back and it'll quickly take you back to that location. I wouldn't recommend using this on PvP servers, because if somebody was to kill that player and then they quickly grab gear, use /back before that player has a chance to get away and they're still wounded, then you basically have somebody just getting the upper advantage, and you don't want that on your server likely. The next permission I have here is essentials.keepxp, which basically just on death you will keep your EXP. And we also have TPA here, so that's just a little add-on to the teleporting permissions. You have the normal teleport request, but you can also request that person to teleport to you rather you to them. And of course the set home multiple for night. And as you will notice, for night and onwards, we have inheritance. I've added inheritance to the bottom of each category. So night would be inheriting the group peasants permissions, so all of these permissions are automatically assumed into this rank. So as you can see, we also have inheritance knight for king, inheritance king for mod, and so on. So now to look at the king rank, there's not that many permissions I added here. So essentials.fly will just allow the player to use /fly, and you can toggle this between areas using World Guard as well. So if you're going for more of a PvP style server, you could disable it in certain areas, or you could just keep it off. It's up to you. Essentials.heal will allow players to heal themselves as they want. So as I mentioned before, I would probably add a cooldown to a command like this, and we will be doing that in the future. Here we also have essentials.repair, which I would also recommend adding a cooldown to. It'll just allow you to repair any armor that you may have that's damaged, or weaponry or tools, whatever it is. Essentials.me allows the user to use /me and then type out a phrase, so it'll appear as though that person is admitting what they're saying. So more like you would put cough or like yawn or something, and it just gives that appearance that is more of something that's being non-verbally kind of given to the chat. At least that's what the purpose of that command is for. And of course we have essentials set home multiple king, so we're going to be setting that up soon. So getting into the staff ranks, the first permissions I've added for mod include chat.ignore exempt. So basically, if somebody was to use /ignore on a mod or higher, it would basically serve no function at all, because they'd still be able to talk and the player would still be able to see them in the chat. Essentials.list.hidden basically allows you to use /list and see any players that may be vanished. So if they're looking to see if other staff members are on, they're going to be able to see those players, whereas the rest of the players of the server will not be able to see that person at all. So essentials.inventory_see, this just allows you to quickly see a player's inventory. So if maybe they're accused of stealing something, you can quickly go in and check, see if it's in their inventory or chest or whatever. And of course you have .modify, which will allow you to take and replace items in people's inventories as well. Next you have essentials.kick, which allows you simply just to kick a player, as well as mute and mute offline, which just additionally allows you to mute a player if they are already offline. The next permission is social spy and social spy others. Essentially this will allow you to view another player's private messages. So in the case where you have suspicion that maybe somebody's using X-ray with a friend or something, you could just quickly spy on their conversations, and if they're saying, oh, get this client or so-and-so or whatever, or maybe you have reports of somebody spamming malicious URLs or something, you can hop on that and take care of that as you wish. Also we have essentials.tempban and tempban offline, which will just allow you to temporarily ban a player for the amount we set yesterday, actually in our previous video, which was 1 day, I believe. We also have essentials.togglejail and togglejail offline, which will allow you to send or free a player from a set jail, which I'm going to leave to the owner rank to set. I'm not going to give permissions for that in the mod group, although you could if you wanted to, but not for the purpose of this video we're going to. So the next permission we have is .vanish, and I added this little asterisk symbol to the end of that so that they have all the permissions within that range, and you'll also see that I do this in the future just so that I give all the permissions for that specific command. So the next permission we have is essentials.delete home others. So if a player has perhaps set a home within somebody else's home and is using it maliciously to kind of bother that player, then a mod will have permission to remove that home from the player. Additionally, mods have the ability to teleport to other players' homes, as well as instantly TP without requesting. Like before, TPA would request a player for teleport permission, but this will just teleport to the player. So if they are vanished, then they could teleport to the player and they would not even know they're there. So maybe we have some reasons to suspect that somebody's X-raying, then you could vanish yourself and teleport to that player. They won't even know you're there, but you could keep an eye on them and check if they actually are or are not. And I also added the essentials.setHome multiple staff permission so that they could have, I believe the default is 10 set homes, so I'm just going to be leaving that likely as well. Now finally, looking at the owner permissions, I've just added the asterisk, which generally for most plugins will mean that they get all the permissions, although that's not the case for every plugin, so I always like to add the plugin's name and the asterisk just to ensure that all the commands are available to the owner. So now that all of the permissions are set up for now, we are going to actually Control-S, save that file, and we're just going to X out and head back to the essentials config. Now before we get into adding the home limits for each rank that we have added, I would recommend, if you're running a PvP server, to add a teleport cooldown on teleportation commands, which you can do right here just by setting a number in seconds. Although since this is going to be kind of a PvE server that we're developing, I'm not going to be doing that for the purpose of this video. Alright, so next you're going to want to go down to the Essentials Home section, and here you can see that we have set home multiple, so these are the different variables that were set default. So we're going to replace default with peasant, and we're going to change that down to 2, and we're also going to add night and we'll boost him to, let's say, 4. And then we'll also add a king variable, and we'll set that to 6. And staff is already there, and we didn't set one for owner because he's an op and he'll be able to set as many as he wants. Although of course he won't actually be an op, he'll just have all the permissions that an op likely would. So actually his name will not even appear in red unless we set that in the prefix of his specific group. Alright, so the next area we're going to be focusing on is the kits, and I'm just going to quickly rename this to the peasant kit instead of tools, and we're just going to leave everything else as it is. Delay is clearly just the seconds it takes until that kit can be used again, so it's 10 seconds in this case. Diamond tools, we'll quickly set that to knight, and notch we'll set to king. And we don't really need any other kits either than that, because moderators and admins and stuff don't generally have a kit because they're not necessarily playing the game, or if they are playing the game, they would generally just have the kits of the previous ranks available to them. So I believe that the peasant rank will be starting with just stone tools, and we'll be testing that out. And of course you can adjust these to whatever items you want. If you don't know an item's ID like this, then I'll leave a link in the description to a website that will tell you all the item IDs. And generally, if you want to find an item ID and you're in game, what you can do, if you have the chest shop plugin, which we'll be going through in introduction to in a future video, you can use the command /item info while it's in your hand, and it'll give you the ID. So you can quickly do that, hop back in here, and fill that out. So it is the item's ID and then the amount that that player gets. So we're going to quickly save this, and we're not going to X out quite yet, but we're going to be hopping back over to the PermissionsEX permissions.yml file, and we're going to quickly be adding the permissions for the specific kits. So kit peasant, let's see, kit knight, and kit king. And that is it. Those are all our kits that we have set up so far, and they are now ready to go. So we're just going to quickly save that file and X out of that. Make sure you've already saved this file, as that's all we're going to be doing for kits in this video, just kind of to give you an idea of how it works, and you'll be able to see it at the end of this video when we test things out. Alright, so we're also going to have to add in the auto AFK kick, which we're going to set at 30 minutes, which in seconds is 1800 seconds. So we're just going to quickly save that and move on. Alright, so now for the chat portion of this tutorial, we are in the permissions.yml file once again, and I'm going to be pasting just a quick little prefix which I used in a previous server, and I'm going to be adjusting it slightly. So it says newbie right now, but I'm going to be adjusting it to say peasant, and I added the and to give it more of a green color rather than the blue of the 9. It's also important to leave this space here, as when you actually talk in chat, you're going to want some space in between your rank and your nickname or name or whatever you have to the right of your player rank. So I'm just going to keep on adding these prefixes for the remainder of the ranks, and I'll cut back when I'm finished. Alright, so I've now added all the prefixes to each individual group. So I chose to do peasant in dark green, as well as the blue, which I had previously been using for that other rank you saw earlier for knight, and also a nice gold for king, as well as a lighter red for mod and a darker red for owner. Alright, so quickly we're going to hop over to the essentials chat area, and you're going to want to make sure that you definitely take out these, I'm not quite sure what you call them, but the little arrow symbols that are next to display name. Those are those white arrows that kind of just ruin the feeling of the chat, and many professional servers remove those. And after display name, you're going to want to put a colon, and then say NF to have the message appear in white if you wish. By default, I think it's in gray, but you can change it to white, and I kind of think it pops out more as white. And I believe that's all you have to do. We might as well just start up the server now and check. Alright guys, so just a few things to note. When I was trying to load up the server, I experienced some issues with PEX, and that was down here with the permission asterisk that I just had. You need to make sure that's in between commas. Now everything else should be fine. I just took out spaces in between and lined up the prefixes a little bit more neatly, but other than that, everything else should be the same. So you're just going to want to save that when you're done changing that. Additionally, you need to make sure that you add the Essentials chat plugin, which is just kind of a form of Essentials, and I forgot to add it in my previous video, although you need to make sure that you do. Now, I'm not sure if this is the latest version, it's just one I had laying around on my desktop, which I popped in and it happened to work. So just to show you guys right now in the chat, here I am, and it says peasant, and that's my rank, but my name's in red right now because I'm an op, so I'm just going to quickly de-op myself. So now if I talk again, there you go, my name's gray. So let's say you don't like the gray and you want to change that to more of a light yellow for the username. We're just going to hop into our permissions YML, and we're going to change at the end of this, we're just going to put and E. You could put this before or after space, it really doesn't matter. We'll just Control S, save that, reload the server, and that should be good to go. And as you can see now, my name is in yellow. So to switch my player from the peasant group, I am going to use the command PEX user NateCure3030 group add, and then we'll add him to owner. So it says I was added to owner, so if I talk now, there you go, and my name is now with the prefix owner. So I should be able to use commands like game mode 1, which I'm already in, so I'll set that to 0. So you can see I can use /fly. I have all of those commands now because I am a op essentially. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. If you found this helpful, please leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more content like this soon. This is really the grittiest part of the entire process, and soon things will be getting a lot more interesting for you guys as server developers. You'll get into building. I'd imagine in the next video we'll probably start with importing a spawn world, and we'll start setting up maybe some World Guard regions, maybe get into some World Guard editing, and possibly if we have time we'll go through some command cooldowns as well. But until the next video guys, see ya.